In an earlier video, I showed you the subpatcher option that we have in Max, where we can contain a group of objects within a subpatch. You double click on that, you can see exactly what's inside there. But then I mentioned that there's an issue that if you change something in one subpatch, even if it's the name the same as another subpatch, then it doesn't change in both locations. They're two localized versions of that subpatch. And I mentioned that there is a way to make it so that if you edit something in one subpatch, that it would show up in the other one. Well, the way you do that is through abstractions. And when you're working with abstractions, the cleanest thing to do is to work through projects. Always use projects. So we're going to go File, Save as Project, because I've just got this patcher open, and we'll do Abstraction Test. Save. Okay, so now we've got this abstraction test patch that's been saved as a part of this abstraction test project. And in here, what we want to do is maybe have a ton of synthesizers, a ton of oscillators to make one large synthesizer. So we're going to go ahead and add a new file, and we'll say, how about basic OSC? Okay. Click Save, and that opens up Basic OSC for us. Now, if we close out of that, if we want to get it back, we just go over to Basic OSC, double-click it. Okay, so let's imagine what this should look like. If we've got, in our main patch, several of these abstractions, what exactly do we want them to do? Well, let's just have some basic capabilities. Let's just have it be a sine wave oscillator as well as amplitude, okay? So to do that, we'll unlock the patcher and let's zoom in here. Okay. Let's do cycle, and then we will want this control. I did I. Let's do it F for float, just in case, because we're not exactly sure what's going to come through into the abstraction. We'll do amplitude. Okay, we'll do another float there. And then, great, that's all we need so far. Now the question is, how do we get this signal out to the main patch, and then how do we get information in to this abstraction from the main patch? Well, we need the inlet and outlet objects. They're the exact same as the subpatchers. So we can copy paste, and then outlet. You'll notice that it can take data as well as signal. Okay, so we've made our little patch with inlets and outlet. Let's exit there and make sure we go back to our abstraction test. Okay, let's zoom in. This is kind of our main patcher. Now for the subpatch, remember we did P space and then you can give it kind of an arbitrary name, right? Well, it's very important to get the exact name of your other patch. So we named it basic OSC.maxPat. So basic OSC.max maxpat. Okay. Now you'll notice that we've got a left inlet and a right inlet and then one outlet, which is perfect because that reflects exactly what we put in here. If we made a second outlet, close that, let's open up basic OSC using the project window. If I add a second outlet and save, then you'll notice in the abstraction test, our main one, we've got two outlets now. So that's reflected there. Let's get rid of that. Okay, basic OSC.maxpat. Now, if we put in a frequency value there, amplitude value there, we can do, let's see, 400 and how about 0.5? Let's have a DAC right here, easy DAC, and definitely gain. Let's turn this on. there we go. That's synthesizers contained inside of this. And what's nice is this is very, very simple and easy to duplicate. And it's all summarized in just a single object. So you can imagine having a very complicated synthesizer, but being able to just have it in one little object. And then also, if you make a small change, then it'll be reflected anywhere that this is a basic OSC.maxpat, right? Much better and easier to work with than just those subpatch objects. So we could do, let's do 450, 500, 550, 2.1.05. Let's see what that sounds like. Okay. Look how clean this is compared to what this would have to look like if we didn't use these abstractions. So now we might want to control this a little bit better. And what I mean by that is there's a little too much freedom here as far as this amplitude goes, and then there's also some confusion here as far as what's supposed to go in each one. You don't always want to have to go and actually dissect the patch to figure out what should go in each inlet. So go ahead and open up using the project window and the project menu. Open up this basic OSC. Zoom in. And we're going to be able to add, using this inspector window, comments, little helpful comments for what should go in each inlet and outlet. So let's click on this first inlet and make sure you open up your inspector window right here and make sure all is selected. And then under behavior, you have this comment option, this comment parameter. So we're going to say frequency. Okay. And then right here, for the second inlet, we're going to say amplitude. And then for the outlet, we're just going to say sine wave out, something like that. We'll Control S to save it, and I'll exit out. And now you'll see that when I hover over any of these inlets, I get a nice little pop-up that tells me what's supposed to go in each one or what's coming out of the outlets. Something else we might want to do is control what can actually go into these abstractions. And this is going to be useful anywhere. It's not just for abstractions. But with amplitude, we probably don't want to go over the value of 1, right? So we can restrict this to be values from 0 to 1. So go ahead and select, I'm going to shift click, or let's see, yeah, shift click all of those amplitude objects. And then if you open up the inspector window, make sure all is selected as well. You can go down to value, the value section. You see there's a minimum and maximum. We're going to change minimum to 0 and maximum to 1. And now that'll have changed it for every single one that we've selected. Now you might do the same for frequency. We don't really need to because of how frequency works, but we could do a minimum at least of 0 and a maximum of, how about 22,000. So now if we came here and tried to go above 1, it wouldn't allow us to. Now we could do the same thing in the basic OXC abstraction, and that might be a good idea right here, because say we use it in the future and we forget to do that to whatever float box we've got going in to the second inlet. Well, you can just restrict that right here. Make sure we click the inspector. We've got this selected. Minimum 0, maximum 1. Okay, so we made this a little safer and a little more robust by making sure that we'll never get any value greater than 1 as the amplitude.